Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming back, or for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Joanna the Medium, or Joanna. I am a medium. These are going to be your messages for the month of April 2019. I think on two videos I said March. Please disregard that. I was doing them in March. But they are for April. So if you hear March, it is April. It's in fact for April. What can I say? I'm going to be very brief. If you guys would like to have a session with me, a personal session with me, that information is down below. You know how to find me. For those of you who are my clients, thank you so much. For those of you who are watching, thank you so much. For those of you who are subscribing, thank you so much for giving me your time. And I'm going to state my intention. My intention is to give you something to think about. My intention is to inspire a thought. Hopefully a thought that will lead to a different conclusion, that will allow you to have a different perception, which then will allow you to shift your reality. So that is always my highest intention, which means sometimes certain things will come in terms of predictions, and sometimes it's going to be way bigger than that in terms of what's happening energetically. And based on that, you can decide how to use this information or this energy in order to help you. So that is my intention for you. Of course, it may not make sense to everybody. Everyone is different. However, I feel a majority of you will be able to understand these messages at some point, whether it's in April, May, or June, or the following months. For some of you, the energies you may have been feeling for quite some time already. So it may be an indication of what has been happening with you. Keep that in mind. And if nothing makes sense, don't worry about it, but do maybe check in down the road, because chances are it will make perfect sense to you. And also listen to your other signs. I also will say this, these energies or the messages, even though they're by a zodiac sign, it is very clear to me, and that's what I'm being told, that even if you are drawn to a certain sign that you don't normally listen to, let's say you click on one of my videos, you're a Cancer, but you click on Pisces, and I don't know, you clicked it because, I don't know, you just clicked it, and then all of a sudden there's some message in there that resonates with you 100%. Don't dismiss this message, because although it's not under your sign, it is a message for you, and therefore you're hearing it. So that's how I would encourage you to use my messages. They're mostly about universal laws. It's how things work and how things are being seen from a higher perspective, so to speak. And I think that's all I have. Extremely transformative month. Every single sign I've done, without a doubt, every single sign that I've done for April, extraordinary, powerful energy of transformation. And I know that March has been kind of feeling that way. I have certainly been going through my own transformation, and I know it's not over yet. It was actually incredible to see that in every single sign. So with that said, I'm going to just move on and let you enjoy the rest of the messages. I wish you best of luck. Of course, if you would like a private session, that information is down below. If you would like to comment, please do so as well. I always love hearing them or seeing them. Thank you again so much for giving me your time. Thank you for participating in my journey. It is actually because of you that I am on this journey, because if it wasn't for you, the listener, there would be no need for me to do this. So thank you once again. I wish you absolutely wonderful time in April, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, let's get started. Hello, beautiful Aries. These are going to be your messages for the month of April. I made a mistake on some videos and said May or March. Anyway, happy birthday to you. You guys just had a birthday, right? Aries, March, April. Yes, happy birthday to you. For those of you who are in April, and for those of you who had it in March, happy birthday to you as well. I have to say this. There's something about the energy that I feel with me today for you that makes me somewhat anxious. Not because there is something bad happening, but because it is so transformational that if you are one of those people who are going to go through a transformation or are already experiencing of symptoms of such, this is going to be one of those moments when you look back, you'll go, yeah, that moment qualifies as something that I will always remember. So you're at the brink of an evolution that allows you to shift and change your perspectives. So this is big. And maybe it has something to do with Uranus, and Uranus is planet of structure. And the moment that comes in to Taurus sign, apparently I've read on it, it starts the process of transforming our beliefs, and our beliefs are rooted and grounded in our practicality. So does that make sense? Just continue going. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that the energy I feel for you is quite amazing. It's extraordinarily potent, which means I'm just going to continue. If you have been asking yourself this question, who am I? You might just come up with the answer that you haven't thought about yet. And how this will come about for each and every one of you will be different. Some of you, it will be as a consequence of some sort of a dissolution of marriage, dissolution of a contract, dissolution of a job, something that is no longer in existence. A contract was torn up, whatever, something ended. I don't necessarily feel that I'm not focused on the ending, because perhaps the ending has already happened. Perhaps it's an emotional ending. It is the shift of perspectives that is connected to this ending that what I'm being focused on. And shift of perspective always signifies change. Why? Because our perspectives is how we create life. So the moment we have a shift in our perspective, our ability to create also shifts with it. And the number 9, some of you may be connected to the number 9 as symbolically or energetically or some other way. Some of you may be a life path 9, so do check what that is for you. You can find calculators online. But more than anything, it is a symbol of letting go. Letting go often symbolizes brand new beginnings, because as the story goes, ebbs and flows, one door closes, another one opens, or in order for one to open, one must close. So this to me represents some form of a new beginning on many levels. Most importantly, your inner shift. The number 2 signifies choice or decision. Are you going to be making a choice or decision, a significant one, in the month of April? Not necessarily. It might be something that you just made, or it might be something that was coming up. If it is coming up, perhaps before you make that choice or decision, you may have to look at shifting your perspectives. And we'll kind of talk about what that may mean for you with a little bit more detail. What did I write here? Shift of perspectives. Okay, so what I was feeling is that this is a very transformative time, for the purpose of you shifting your perspectives, which will unlock some of your deeper limiting beliefs. And then I hear the word pause and wait a second. What does that mean? And they're not asking me to pause. Consider yourself in it and how you feel about it before you proceed forward. This feels like a message for those of you who are looking at making a change or changes, and you are in transitions. And whatever it is that you are making the change to or wanting to make the change to, the question is, consider how you feel about yourself when you're in it. Now that's interesting. I'm going, where are we going with this? Okay, for example, let's say you want a promotion. Okay. And let's say right now you're working and you're working, but you really want promotion. You want to go higher and better. And you're going to make a choice. You're going to apply for a position. You're going to quit this job. That's just as an example. You're going to quit this job and you're going to go over there and you're going to get hired. So let's imagine that story. Let's say you quit of your job and you put an application for a position that's way higher than what you're used to. And see, I'm already getting anxiety over this, which is telling me there is some massive internal conflict going on. Has to do with sense of authority in terms of you feeling like you are authority in your life. But anyway, I'll continue. So before making those choices and those decisions, imagine yourself in this situation and in your own time, quiet time, and notice how you feel in it. Several things might happen. You might realize that when you put yourself in that situation, you have this good stuff, but there is this underlying kind of a awkwardness about it. And it might be very subtle at first, but it is loud enough for you to hear it. It could be easily missed or misunderstood. But the reason why this is showing up is because in this example, if you are vying for a position that is way higher than what you've had, but your belief about you does not match this position, you will struggle. Not only will you struggle because you will constantly be going to a place that hired you for a higher paying position, but your conflict within yourself about you deserving it is still huge, and it creates, well, a lot of stress, because every day you wake up, you have to put on this mask and you have to pretend that you are in control, where inside quite the opposite is happening. So before you make such decision, and I would always encourage you to move higher, but before you do, notice if there isn't something inside of you that's blocking you from it in the first place. This can be the same with a relationship. If you are single, let's say, and you have been used to dating jerks, men or women, and obviously you'd want a nice relationship, chances are your subconscious belief about relationship kind of sucks. And it sucks because it's based on your experiences, and you've had shitty experiences, and those experiences you basically decided through these experiences to feel about this in a certain way. And that's your belief about relationships. So let's say you attract a relationship, and lo and behold, boom, the same thing comes up, or same problems come up. So you might say, well, I tried to, I didn't see anything. And I would say to you, okay, if you keep on attracting the same thing and it's not getting better, what is it that's inside of you that says, this is just the norm? This is my belief system. This is what I believe this relationships mean. So whether it's a job, whether it's relationship, or the other side of it is you will attract a relationship that is quite loving. As a matter of fact, everything you ever wanted, but your belief is that it's not for you because you've lived all these experiences that told you otherwise. And although you want it consciously, the inner part of you says, no, that's not for me. That's not my truth. So you will create problems for yourself. You will reject it, which means you will self-sabotage. And I know you've done this before. Or you will tell yourself some stories and then you will decide to believe it. You'll tell yourself some lies about some things that, it's somehow somebody else's fault. That can happen. You have actually attracted somebody amazing, but because you don't believe it's true, you're waiting for the shoe to drop, and lo and behold, you're going to look for those things, and before you know it, you're going to prove themselves to yourself. You're going to prove yourself right. Because you always find what you're looking for. If you're looking for someone for example, if you're looking for someone to disappoint you, you trying to avoid it are putting so much attention to it that you actually attract it. It's a paradox. And as a matter of fact, you have that card here. I think I'm going to leave that. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. It is absolutely important for you to examine your beliefs, because your beliefs is what creates your existence. And chances are, if you are watching, you want your existence to look maybe a little bit different, or maybe you want to get a peek of what your next existence will be. And it is why I don't spend a lot of time on predicting, because to me, there are some basic stuff that you have, that there is a prediction for. One, you're in a physical body. Majority of it is gray area. It is given to the idea of free will. So we have the free will to create whatever we want, even though we're supposed to be creating something different. And I'm just kind of going to let that go. Okay, so a few cards that I pulled for you, and I just asked a few questions. The first question was, what might be affected? What are we looking at in the month of April? And keep in mind, it is energy is fluid. So it could be actually in March, or it could be in May. The Page of Cups comes up. For those of you who read cards, this may have a specific meaning to you. I'm not going to go by the traditional meaning, because I don't know, especially the court cards drive me crazy. I can't, it doesn't stick for me. So this is going to be completely intuitive. When I see this person, I get cautious. Okay. So this is a young type of personality, but it could be young. However, if you're older, doesn't mean that you're not young at heart. It speaks to me about insecurity. So it's the Page of Cups is traditionally thought of as an immature individual, and it not immature because it doesn't know any different. It's just did not have a lot of experience in any given area to be master. In other words, there is how can I say it in a different way? There's a certain level of innocence here. I'm gonna put that down. I'm gonna move on to another thing, and then I'll see if we're gonna come back, because this one kind of eludes me. The Eight of Swords, to me in this card, symbolizes moving on from very destructive thought pattern. And the reason why is because you are at an end of a cycle. However, the way this is showing up, it's showing up in reverse position. So this is the typical Wheel of Fortune. The way this is showing up, and by the way, notice the 4. So for some of you, this will make sense to you in April. Okay, but this is significant of a certain door closing, or a certain door needing to close. In other words, the wheel has come full circle. It's time to move on. But it sounds like you're resisting, and you could be resisting in various ways. You're stubborn. That's one. You don't want to change your perspective. You're too comfortable where you are. So there is a certain comfort level with where you are, even though other things are not working. It's too much work to make a change, because now you have to do things about things. So there's some sort of a resistance to this coming up, and to this end of a cycle coming up. And I'm getting this feeling like something is clenching my jaw. So some of you may experience that for some reason, and it's actually pulling in my ear. So what is this? So this could be tension. So you might be just tense, physically tense, and it's pulling on my jaw. But jaw is also the way it's feeling, like it's very strained, which to me represents communication. Some of you are not very good at communicating with yourself very well. You tell yourself one thing, but you actually experience. So you tell yourself something, but then you experience. You believe something, but then you tell yourself something else. Is that what I want to say it? There's quite a bit of contradiction going on, and that's all in your psyche. I will go into it a little bit further. Now, remember, they talked about shift of perspectives. So I said, what are some of the things that are subconsciously happening? And this is where it gets very interesting. You basically have 2 cards that talk about limitations and rigid thinking and rigid beliefs. The card of paradox to me signifies, well, for one, the moment I saw this card, I heard conflict. The meaning of this card is that you are about to undergo through a major shift, through a major transformation that will allow you to have a shift of perspective. So it is either something you are in the process of right now, or it is something that is approaching and it's nearing you. Paradox is always the hardest word for me to understand and to explain. For one, English is my second language, and the other, I can't quite grasp I mean, I know what it is, but I can't evoke it. I can't say it. So if I say inner conflict, and you will know that by examining your dialogue, that is what paradox means to me, or that's how I can explain paradox. It can't come out. The Atlantean era is very symbolic of a very rigid, usually very uniform belief system. What does uniform mean in that way? It's very certain way. It's very rigid. So this symbolizes several things. Number one, it speaks in terms of your beliefs about yourself. Well, if you're like anybody else, you have a certain set of beliefs, and yours might be very rigid. What do I mean by that? Okay. What I mean by that is this. You may look at yourself and you look at others and you may deem yourself as less than, okay? How is it rigid? Okay, it's rigid because if this is how you see yourself, then you will more likely than not embrace opportunities that life serves you. Why? Because your belief system says you're not good enough to take them, okay? Now, it's not a conscious thing or consciously cognitive thing. It is subconscious, but this is the time to examine those things. Beliefs are mostly subconscious. We know the little bits, but a lot of our beliefs we don't have access to yet. They're deeply, deeply, deeply rooted. It's layers. So no time like present to look at some outdated beliefs you have about you. If you have felt not good enough, and you are in some sort of a transition, which we all are if I'm being honest about it, then it's time for you to look at the underlying reasons why that is. And the purpose of that is to decide not to drag it forward with you. Why? Because, well, if you're struggling with something, dragging it with you would make it impossible for you not to struggle. Again, in other words, you continue the pattern. There's a lot of healing that's taking place in the month of April. I actually have felt this. I'm doing these in March, and the energy is effing electric. It is so transformational, like I said before, that sometimes it's just difficult for me to hold it when I'm speaking with a client because it's so big. On top of it, I'm very sensitive, so it amplifies things. But the reason why I'm saying this, to move on to you, is that the manifestation process right now is amplified. Which means, yes, any seeds we sow, we will eventually get the results back in a financial or physical or etheric form. Okay? So since seeds are representative of thoughts, and since thoughts are responsible for our creations, we better be responsible of the thoughts we put out. Your thoughts, or the thoughts you put out, are based on your belief system. Your belief system may not be screaming at you, hey, here I am, but your belief system will allow you to feel certain things about yourself. Based on that, you approach the world in a certain way. So if you are someone who feels very small, as an example, if you have a perception of you that you are not enough or small, you will absolutely not put yourself out there for the world to see you. Why? Because you're going to be terrified. You're going to be terrified that you won't be able to handle it, that you're going to be rejected, that you're going to be all these things that you currently believe you're not. Okay? That's just one example. There's many things that I could talk about, but I can only give you one at a time. But if you extrapolate the equation, if you would, will, and then pluck it into some other situation with a different feeling, the mechanical component of that is the same. In other words, it's all made up of the same components. Our beliefs, how we feel, our deeply rooted beliefs, our emotions, our thoughts, all of these things lead to our experiences. And because at the beginning I said that this is so, okay, thank you. Some of you pretend you can't hear things. And I want to go first in terms of intuition. Some of you proclaim you have a very strong intuition, yet when it comes to listening to it, you turn the other way. So that's a contradiction. Some of you are not wanting to hear certain things. Usually when that happens, it's because it's inconvenient. It's usually inconvenient because it causes certain friction. So if there are some things that you haven't wanted to hear for a while, let's say someone has said to you, hey man, you really look unhappy, or hey honey, sweetie, woman, you really look unhappy. Like, is everything okay? Yeah, no, I'm fine, everything is fine. And you just kind of shove it under the carpet. I have a feeling over the next few months, 3 months in particular, which makes it to April, May, June, July, till end of July or thereabouts, or over the next 3 months, it would be wise for you to take your responsibility seriously. And that means asking yourself that question, what is it that I want? And be very honest about what you want. You don't have to give the answer to anybody else but you. It's between you and God, between you and consciousness. And be very honest about it. If you want a career, tell me what the career, or ask yourself, what will this career give me in terms of feelings? Well, maybe for you, career is going to make you feel important. That is a good thing, but is that the only thing that is going to make you feel important? In other words, unless you have a specific career, you are not going to feel important. Now that's ridiculous, isn't it? But that is how our mind works. That's why it's important to ask yourself these questions. And that's why it's important to look at things that may not feel good in order to find the paradox, the inner conflict. I will tell you this, you are being guided. All of us are being guided. I mean, that's no brainer, at least to me. Some of us know it, some of us don't know it, some of us are not sure, some of us don't believe in it. Everywhere in between. But we're all being guided. Every single one of us has this thing called intuition. We come equipped with it. It is your soul's way of communicating with the physical experience. However, not everybody listens. Not everybody wants to listen. Not everybody trusts it. Some people don't believe in it. Some people don't know what it's like. Various versions, right? Point is that I feel majority of people know the idea of intuition, and at least a little bit what it feels like in them. And it may be very, very, very subtle and very, very quiet, but it's there. It is much, much, much more subtle and quieter than your beliefs and your judgments and your fears. Those things are really, really loud. So it's really important. Yes, it's important. It would be advisable, if you will, to take the next little while and to seriously look at your life in terms of your priorities. In other words, and if you are happy and everything is wonderful, this message isn't for you. It may be applied later at some point if you're struggling with something. But if it doesn't mean anything to you right now, don't worry about it. This is for those people who are experiencing going through transitions, or have been feeling rocky for quite some time, or have lost the sense of purpose, or what is this all about. You are going through an extreme transformative energies, and those are not easy. And when I say easy, they're not comfortable. They're rarely comfortable. I mean, 10 of Wands is a card that basically symbolizes you're at the end of your rope, a heavy burden. Love, career, passion, your spirit, your spiritual connection. Some of you have felt like you have just, you know what, you just don't have luck. You've run out of luck. Well, luck is a funny thing. I believe in luck, but I recently heard an interesting phrase that said luck is really a culmination of energies. So if you have run out of luck or you feel unlucky, you might want to gently, very gently, look at yourself and ask yourselves, why would that be? Because you either attract luck to you or don't attract it to you. So if you don't attract it to you, and what we attract is based on our beliefs, you know how the story goes. One last but not least, I asked for a message. This says holy mountain. Holy mountain. This is very symbolic of reaching a peak of one's understanding, a higher perspective. For some of you, you might want to take a trip to somewhere in nature where you can spend a lot of time away from the noise of everyday life. Give yourself that gift and contemplate your reason for being here. I'm not suggesting most people who are listening to this feel they have no reason to be here. That's not what I mean. But if you're going through some stuff, you are shifting. And as you're shifting, your priorities change, and momentarily you become somewhat unsure of what you want. And all the logic in the world isn't going to help it, but intuition can. And in order to hear the intuition, we have to slow down. So do yourself a favor, spend some time in nature. The yellow sun to me is power. It's obviously the solar plexus. So for a lot of you, this has to do with confidence. It's how you feel about yourself. I'm going to put it differently. It has to do everything with your perceived value. So I think that's how I'm going to leave it. Is there anything else that I want to say about this? Don't be so hard on yourself. Life is limitless, and so are your abilities. But if you believe that they are not, then you will prove yourself correct. I also want you to research, if you want, the symbology of a lion. It's straightforward to me, but you might have a different definition for yourself. Lion to me symbolizes strength. As a matter of fact, I have one on my shoulder. And the pack animals, which is most cats are not. And they're very fierce and protective. They're very gentle. They're very fierce at the same time. They're very caring. They're very loyal. That's what I'm being asked to say. How loyal are you to you? Do you sell your soul to be appreciated? Do you put yourself down in order to minimize yourself so that you don't stand out because you're too afraid that if you do, people are going to see something is missing? Whatever that is. And even when I say this, there's like this sadness that wants to lift off of me. And I feel like I've been pushed down for a while. And the reason why I'm feeling this is because this is so transformative. Higher perspective. This message, this card represents higher perspectives in however it's written. There's other things that I said that came through, but this is all about higher perspectives. Okay? And with that, I'm going to leave this. I wish you best of luck in the month of April. I hope this makes sense to you. If not now, maybe later. Do yourself a favor. If you want, do listen to it a few weeks from the time you hear it first. Because from what I see, many of you that respond and comment say that you listen at the beginning and makes no sense, and then you listen at the end and you're actually quite astonished. So I'm like, yes, thank you, because I never know how this applies to anything. I trust, and I continue to develop trusting myself. I deal with stuff too. Trust that life can be better. And I'm not suggesting it's bad, but chances are if you're listening, something might be off. Okay? And with that said, I wish you best of luck. If you would like to have a private session with me, that information is down below. Please take care of yourself. Don't judge yourself harshly. As a matter of fact, do yourself a favor and do this experiment. Notice how critical you are of yourself and notice how much you judge yourself every day. Just notice that. Just do an experiment. And notice how much time you spend judging yourself versus feeling proud and good. Chances are when you do this and you're very honest, and you have to be mindful, you'll be quite astonished because you'll realize very quickly that majority of your focus and energy goes off to all the things you think you are not. And that's where you spend your time. And those are the thoughts, which thoughts are creative. Need I need to go more or further? You get the picture. Okay? Very, very, very transformative month. Or few months, I will say, at least the next couple of months. I wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself and see you soon.